Alero's laughter echoed through the well-decorated halls of their Lekki home. The sunlight filtering through the large windows bathed her dark skin in a warm glow. The joy in her eyes were undeniable. She had been married to Emeka for 10 years, and every day seemed better than the best. Their marriage was one that many admired, a perfect union, or so it seemed. Emeka was a successful businessman, known for his acumen in the oil and gas industry. He was charming with a commanding presence that drew people to him. Alero had been drawn to this very charisma when they met at a friend's wedding years ago. They had danced together, and from that moment, she knew she was in love. Their wedding was the talk of Lagos. The who's and who of society attended, and it was featured in all the major lifestyle magazines. They had 3 beautiful children, 2 boys, Chinedu and Kelechi, and a girl, Ifoma. Alero was content and her heart full, and her life complete, or so she thought. As the year went by, Emeka's business grew successfully. With this growth came increased travel, meetings that ran late into the night, and an ever-expanding social circle. Alero noticed the changes, but she dismissed them as the inevitable price of success. After all, Emeka was still the loving husband who would bring her flowers on her birthdays and take her on exotic vacations. But then, the subtle changes started to add up. Emeka no longer lingered over dinner, and the late nights, the phone calls became more frequent. His affectionate gestures became more hasty, almost like a routine he was trying to maintain, rather than something he felt. Alero tried to dismiss the growing unease in her heart. She busied herself with the children, throwing herself into her role as a mother and homemaker. Yet there was a nagging voice at the back of her mind that refused to be silenced. It started with whispers. Alero heard them during her visits to the salon, at social gathering, and even at the children's school. The whispers were always the same. Emeka was seen with a younger woman, a beautiful woman who was always by his side. At first, Alero refused to believe it. She trusted Emeka. He was her husband, the father of her children. They had built a life together, and she couldn't imagine him being unfaithful. But the whispers grew louder, and soon they became impossible to ignore. One afternoon, as Alero sat in the garden, her friend Ifeyinwa came to visit. Ifeyinwa was one of the few people Alero confided in, someone she could trust to be honest with her. "Alero, I need to talk to you about something," Ifeyinwa began hesitantly, her voice filled with concern. Alero looked up, sensing the seriousness in her friend's tone. "What is it, Ifeyinwa?" "Have you heard a rumor about Emeka?" Ifeyinwa asked, her eyes searching Alero's face for any sign of recognition. Alero's heart skipped a beat. She had heard the rumors, of course, but she had chosen to ignore them. "Yes, I have heard them," she admitted quietly. Ifeyinwa reached out and took Alero's hand. "I didn't want to believe them either, but I saw them together last week. Emeka and the woman. They were at the new restaurant in Victoria Island, and they looked close." Alero felt the ground shift beneath her. It was one thing to hear rumors, but to have them confirmed by someone she trusted, that was a different kind of pain. Alero couldn't ignore the truth any longer. That night, after the children had gone to bed, she waited for Emeka to come home. The hour ticked by, and the anxiety gnawed at her insides. Finally, around midnight, Emeka walked in, looking exhausted. "You are still awake?" he asked, surprised to see her sitting in the living room. "Yes, we need to talk," Alero replied, her voice steady, though her heart was pounding. Emeka frowned, sensing the seriousness in her tone. He sat down across from her, his expression unreadable. "What is it?" Alero took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "Emeka, I have been hearing things about you and another woman." Emeka's eye flickered, but he quickly regained his composure. "Alero, you know how people love to gossip. It's nothing." "Don't lie to me, Emeka," Alero said, her voice trembling slightly. "Ifeyinwa saw you two together." Emeka's face hardened. "So what if she did? It's none of her business." Alero felt a surge of anger. "What about me, Emeka? Is it none of my business either? I am your wife. We have children together. How could you do this to me?" For a moment, Emeka looked guilty, but then his expression turned cold. "Alero, you are overreacting. Yes, I have been seeing someone, but it's nothing serious. She is just a distraction." "A distraction?" Alero repeated, her voice shaking with emotion. "After everything we have been through, after all these years, you would throw it all away for a distraction?" Emeka sighed, rubbing his temple as if the conversation was draining him. "Alero, you are a good woman, but people changed. We have grown apart." "People changed?" Alero echoed, feeling as if she was in a nightmare. "Emeka, we have a family. What about our children? What about us?" Emeka didn't answer. Instead, he stood up and walked towards the stairs. "I'm tired, Alero. We will talk about this in the morning." But Alero knew there would be no real conversation. Emeka has made his choice, and it wasn't her. The weeks that followed were some of the darkest in Alero's life. Emeka moved out of their home into a luxury apartment in Ikoyi, where he continued his affair with a younger woman, who Alero later learned was named Adora. Adora was a model, stormingly beautiful, and 10 years younger than Alero. The divorce paper came shortly after, delivered by a lawyer who spoke in cold, clinical terms about the divisions of assets and custody arrangements. Alero felt numbed as she signed the papers, her hands shaking as she realized that her marriage was truly over. The community that had once admired their union was now divided. Some sided with Emeka, claiming that he had the right to seek happiness wherever he found it. Others sympathized with Alero, lamenting the way she had been discarded after years of loyalty and love. Alero tried to stay strong for the sake of her children, but the pain was unbearable. She would lie awake at night, replaying the years of their marriage, wondering where it had all gone wrong. How had the man who once adored her become so distant, so cruel? As the months passed, Alero slowly began to rebuild her life. She found solace in her children, who were her greatest source of strength. She also threw herself into her work, starting a small business that quickly grew into a successful enterprise. But the loneliness lingered. There were nights when Alero would cry herself to sleep, the weight of betrayal heavy on her heart. She missed the life she had built with Emeka, the dreams they had shared, but she knew that holding onto the past would only cause her more pain. One afternoon, As Alero was shopping at a local market in Surulere, she bumped into an old friend, Tunde. Tunde had been a classmate in university, and they had lost touch over the years. "Alero, is that you?" Tunde asked, his face lighting up with recognition. Alero smiled, surprised to see him. "Tunde, it's been ages. How are you?" They spent the next hour catching up, reminiscing about their university days and sharing stories of their lives since then. Tunde had become a successful architect, and he was in Lagos for a new project. Over the next few weeks, Alero and Tunde began to spend more time together. Tunde was kind, attentive, and he had a way of making Alero laugh that she hadn't experienced in a long time. He listened to her, supported her, and slowly Alero began to feel something she hadn't felt in years: hope. Tunde never pressured Alero. He understood the pain she had been through, and he was patient, allowing her to heal at her own pace. But as time passed, Alero realized that she had fallen in love with him. While Alero was finding new happiness, Emeka's life was unraveling. The relationship with Adora, which had once seemed so exciting, quickly lost its allure. Adora was beautiful, yes, but she was also demanding, and her interests were superficial. Emeka found himself missing the depth and understanding that Alero had brought to his life. Emeka's business also began to suffer, distracted by his personal life. He had made poor decisions that cost him important contracts. His once thriving company started to decline, and the stress took a toll on him. One evening, after a particularly difficult day, Emeka returned to his apartment to find Adora packing her bags. "Adora, what are you doing?" Emeka asked, confused and weary from the day's struggle. Adora looked up from her suitcase, her expression indifferent. "I am leaving, Emeka." Emeka's heart sank. "Leaving? Why? What happened?" Adora sighed, as if the conversation bored her. "Emeka, this isn't working anymore. You are not the man I thought you were. You are always stressed, always angry, and your business is falling apart. I didn't sign up for this." "But we can fix it," Emeka pleaded, desperation creeping into his voice. "We can get through this together." Adora shook her head, not a trace of emotion in her eyes. "I am not interested in fixing anything. I want a life of luxury and ease, not this mess you have dragged me into. I am done." With that, she zipped up her suitcase and walked out, leaving Emeka standing alone in the middle of the lavish apartment that now felt empty and cold. Emeka's life spiraled out of control after Adora's departure. He tried to salvage his business, but it was too late. The damage had been done, and he was forced to sell off assets to cover his debts. The luxury cars, the penthouse apartment, and even his shares in the company, all of it was gone. He found himself living in a modest flat in Ikeja, far from the opulence he had once known. The friends who had flocked around him during his success were nowhere to be found. Emeka was alone, left with nothing but his regrets. He thought often of Alero during these dark times. He remembered the way she would stood by him through thick and thin, the way she had loved him unconditionally. The realization of what he had lost hit him like a punch to the gut. He had traded a woman who truly loved him for a fleeting fantasy, and now he had nothing. Emeka reached out to Alero, hoping for some form of reconciliation. He sent messages, flowers, and even tried to visit her. But Alero remained distant. She had moved on, and Emeka knew deep down that he had no right to ask her for anything. Alero's relationship with Tunde blossomed into something beautiful. Tunde was everything Emeka was not: caring, supportive, and genuinely interested in her happiness. He adored Alero's children, treating them as his own, and they, in turn, grew to love him. One evening, Tunde took Alero out to a quiet dinner at a cozy restaurant in Victoria Island. As they sat across from each other, enjoying the meal, Tunde reached across the table and took Alero's hand. "Alero," he began, his voice full of sincerity, "I never imagined I would find someone like you. You have brought so much joy into my life, and I want to spend the rest of my days making you as happy as you have made me." Alero felt tears welling in her eyes. She had never expected to find love again, especially after the heartbreak she had endured. But here was Tunde, offering her a future filled with love and stability. Tunde got down on one knee, pulling out a small velvet box. "Alero, will you marry me?" Alero's heart swelled with emotion. She looked into Tunde's eyes, seeing the depth of his love and the sincerity of his proposal. "Yes, Tunde, I will marry you." The restaurant erupted in applause as Tunde slipped the ring onto Alero's finger. For the first time in a long time, Alero felt truly happy, free from the shadows of her past. Several months later, as Alero was preparing for her wedding to Tunde, she received an unexpected visitor. Emeka stood at her doorstep, looking haggard and worn. He was a shadow of the man she had once known. "Alero, can we talk?" Emeka asked, his voice trembling with emotion. Alero hesitated for a moment, but then nodded. She led him into the living room, where they sat down in awkward silence. "I know I don't deserve your time, Alero," Emeka began, his eyes filled with remorse. "But I needed to see you, to apologize for everything I did. I was a fool, and I ruined our family for nothing. I've lost everything, Alero. My businesses, my so-called friends, even Adora, they are all gone." Alero listened quietly, her heart surprisingly calm. She had waited a long time for this moment, for Emeka to realize the gravity of his actions. But now that it was here, she felt no anger, no bitterness, only a sense of closure. "I won't lie, Emeka," Alero said softly. "You hurt me deeply. You broke our family apart. And for a long time, I didn't know how to move on. But I found happiness again, and I'm not looking back." Emeka's eyes filled with tears. "I don't expect you to forgive me, Alero. I just wanted you to know that I am truly sorry. I wish you nothing but happiness." Alero looked at him, seeing the broken man before her, and for a pang of pity, she knew that she had moved beyond him, beyond the pain he had caused. "I hope you find peace, Emeka," she said gently. "But our lives have taken different paths now. I'm getting married to Tunde, and we are starting a new family together." Emeka nodded, a single tear rolling down his cheek. He is a good man, Alero. I hope he treats you the way you deserve." Alero smiled, a warm and genuine smile. "He does, Emeka. He really does." With that, Emeka stood up, knowing it was time to leave. He gave Alero one last lingering look before walking out of her life for good. Alero's wedding to Tunde was small, intimate affair attended by close friends and family. It was a celebration of love, resilience, and new beginning. As she walked down the aisle, Alero felt a sense of peace she had never known before. Tunde stood at the altar, his eyes filled with love and admiration as he watched her approach. When Alero reached him, he took her hands in his, and they exchanged vows that were filled with promise and hope. As they were pronounced husband and wife, Alero knew that she had finally found the happiness she deserved. She had been through the storm and had come out stronger on the other side. Alero's story is one of strength, resilience, and the power of self-worth. She learned that love should never come at the cost of one's dignity, and that true happiness can only be found when we value ourselves first. Emeka's downfall serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of selfishness and betrayal. He lost everything because he chose to chase after fleeting desire rather than cherishing what he had. For anyone going through similar trials, Alero's journey teaches us that no matter how dark the situation may seem, there is always light at the end of the tunnel. It may take time and the road may be painful, but with perseverance and self-love, happiness is always within reach. And sometimes that happiness lies in letting go of what no longer serves us, making way for something far greater. Thank you for watching. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section. Also, please subscribe, like, share, and press the notification bell for more interesting and captivating story. See you in the next story. Bye for now.